The Todd Shapiro Show.
Hi, Milo.
All right.
Hey, buddy. You sound great. How you doing? Good. That worked out.
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm okay. I'm so sorry. I'm in Miami. I don't know what it is, the weather or something, but I think we're good now. I'm on the Wi-Fi.
You sound fantastic. You know what was funny about it? Because at first I thought maybe you were being a bit dodgy, and then my producer over here, who I told, by the way, to try and figure all this out before the show, he said that you said the signals was appalling, and then I knew for sure it was real because you're the only guy that would ever use that word in that sort of situation. Most would just say it sucks shit or it's terrible, but that's my Milo.
Nobody comes out there. I'm so sorry, baby, but I'm here now.
Good. I'm glad. I miss you. First off, I actually, well, I don't agree with everything you say.
Of course you do.
No,
of course you do.
I can't be whipped into submission like that one night. But Milo, I miss the controversy that you were stirring on Twitter. What is the update with Twitter?
Oh. Well, we've filed a subject access request in Europe because I'm a European citizen. So they're obliged to give me all sorts of information that they hold about me that they will not want to give up. So we're waiting for that right now. I think that's going to come back in about a week or two. And then I got to tell you, I keep hearing from people all of the terrible things are about through Twitter. Twitter has so many lawsuits on its hands coming up in the next couple of years. It's going to be carnage.
Well, and what else is going on within Twitter that people are freaking out?
So I can't tell you too much, but I do know, for instance, the conservative advertisers are very unhappy with them. They're now completely convinced, and they're right about this, that Twitter has been systematically treating conservatives unfair. They want their money back. So you should look out for that one. That's going to be coming in the next 6 months.
Well, it is very interesting because I have heard how Twitter is they basically filter what information you get, and then they silence certain things that whether right or wrong, it's still the whole point of it was freedom of expression. And the other thing that's kind of I guess nuts about Twitter, Milo, is that are you in an airport?
No, I'm not. God, this is ridiculous. This is a disaster. This is a disaster.
I'm
going to have to take you out for the nicest dinner and to compensate for this car crash of an appearance today.
No, it's not terrible, to be honest. I don't mind so much, but it's interesting because there's actually a lot of like pornography on Twitter, isn't there?
Goodness.
Yeah.
There are all sorts.
Yep.
Well, they really only cracked down on terrorism when they were shamed into doing it by the media. I mean, they did nothing to stop the spread of ISIS, to stop them recruiting, and to stop them bragging on Twitter until they were humiliated into it by journalists. I mean, what is wrong with these people? Well, how are they making such bad decisions over and over and over again? Well, I think I know, actually. And I think it's just because they are all signed up to this crazy far-left social justice lunacy. And they're making bad decisions because it is driven by this... runs that company. I'm now inside these guys' heads so much. They talk about me all day, every day in that office. They're up in the boardroom in Twitter. There's a hashtag Screw Nero. They're obsessed with this identity politics stuff. They cannot wrap their heads around the idea that somebody might be gay and conservative. They just can't figure it out. And their only response to it was just get him off. Just get him off.
Now,
it's so hilarious.
Now, Milo, do you miss being on that platform, though? Because you would speak to hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions, between your retweets and your impressions and stuff. And
darling, I still speak to millions. You kidding me? No, the thing is, you can't just unfamous somebody. You can't just unfamous them. The cat is out of the bag. And every time I publish an article, thousands of people are tweeting it. Everybody reads it anyway. And now they've made my name synonymous with the failure of their platform, the failure of their network. Twitter is now stalling. Investors are suing. Their own investors are suing them. The investors allege that Twitter has not been keeping them informed about how it measures users on its platform. Well, we know why that is, because the user growth has stopped. And in fact, all the interesting, creative, funny, clever people, the people that bring people to your platform, the edgy, dissident, mischievous, personalities and characters, they're all leaving, or they're just not really investing in the platform anymore. They ban people like Azalea Banks and me. That's why people come to Twitter. They come for the drama, they come for the excitement, they come for bad language, they come for the argument. People love it. They absolutely love it. And they've got this crazy, crazy idea in their heads that anything that they don't like is abuse and harassment. The wrong politics are abuse and harassment. The wrong jokes are abuse and harassment. The wrong people are abusers and harassers and ringleaders of misogynistic, racist hate campaigns. No, I just don't agree with you, sweetheart, about some politics thing. And they're crucifying all of their most valuable users. And this now is this crazy train, that they're on. It cannot be stopped, and the platform's going to die as a result. It's so sad because it was completely avoidable.
Well, and now I know it's a few months old, but for those Todd Shapiro Show listeners who don't know why you were kicked off, and I mean, I know why. What was sort of the story and the backdrop behind it, and why do you think they eventually said, Milo Yiannopoulos at Nero, we can't have you here?
Well, I wrote a very negative review of the new Ghostbusters movie, which I felt was a very lazy, sort of pandering feminist reboot. And the problem with it is, they basically just remade the movie and put women in the lead roles without turning them into women. They were kind of like, they were women behaving like dudes, and it just didn't ring true. It didn't hang together. There's no chemistry. Very, very bad movie. And I made a few jokes at all of their expense, really. And then I cracked a few jokes at Leslie Jones. And of course, Twitter's been trying to get me off for, well, probably years now. They hate me so much. And this is the excuse that they do. It's so wonderful, delicious. I wake up every morning and crack one out to how much they hate me. No, but they've been trying for so long. They've been trying for so long to get rid of me. And, me having a little, celeb on celeb spat with, a black woman, that was all the excuse they needed, because these days in America, disagreeing with a black woman is racist. So, that was basically what happened. I mean, I said she looked like one of my ex-boyfriends, which she does. I'm not entitled to crack jokes about how a celebrity looks. Give me a break. Anyway, so they just took the opportunity to finally throw the hammer down on me. But quite honestly, my profile's so much higher now than it was before. It's the best thing could ever happen to me. And now my name is synonymous with the failure of their platform, and I'm going to haunt them forever.
Well, and I'll tell you, man, I took a little bit of pride because, I think we had you on the show about 8 months ago, and I started to see you making waves, early on. And I've always said to people, whether you like them or whether you don't, and I've said this to you, I believe, at least you got to hear what they have to say. And I always think there's got to be some sort of compromise. It's one of the things I say I like about Trump. I don't think I would necessarily go and vote for Trump if I was an American citizen, but I like the fact that, well, I don't, listen, if I spent a few evenings with you, I'm sure you could sway me, but you have that kind of power over people. You're a very compelling person, Milo, and I'm not just kissing your ass like a lot of people said I was doing last time, although I hear you have a very nice ass. So
I do. Actually, somebody was kissing it just this morning.
I picture it very hairless, very, just not a lot of hair.
It's not actually. I'm Greek. I'm very hairy from the waist down.
Oh, are you? All right.
Yeah, but it's very shapely. It's a very nice shape.
All right. Well, you work out. How is? But I mean, you say you have these, obviously a Breitbart. So how is Breitbart doing? I feel like there's never been more attention on Breitbart than, part of it's this election, but I feel like that is really a lot of place where people are getting news that they might not get in any other conventional mediums.
I think that's true. I mean, Donald Trump couldn't have done what he has done without Breitbart. I think he knows that. We are, I suppose, probably the most infamous in America now. We have had more purchase. We've had more purchase and more sway on this election than any other news organization. We are better and the reason for that is that we are better in tune with ordinary people than the rest of the media is. It's Breitbart is a company full of mavericks and misfits and crazy brilliant people. They don't look or sound like traditional journalists, but they do better work, and they understand ordinary people. They understand what people are mad about. They understand, the movement that is behind Trump, which isn't just a politics thing. It's not just about immigration and all the rest of it, but the anti-establishment, the anti-political correctness, this feeling is something that's been growing among Breitbart readers for years. And Trump really came along after that and capitalized on that. But we identified that and we have understood that for a very, very long time, which is why we were very well positioned to take advantage of all the things that were happening politically. And, Breitbart is going gangbusters. It's an incredible place to work right now. The energy is incredibly high. There's loads of scrutiny on us. And as you correctly say, people are coming to us for news they wouldn't get elsewhere. But they're also, and I find this interesting, the Daily Mail has this amazing front page, all these sort of celebrity pictures, like Gwyneth Paltrow looking a bit chubby and on the beach and whatever, We have this amazing front page that people are starting to use just as their sort of front page of record. They check Drudge, they check Breitbart. I find myself, I try to read as much as possible, but I find myself just checking the site And then I feel like, right, I know what's up today. It's becoming this destination for a huge slice of the American population, and in a way that really nobody else is. Fox News is going center right. It's all going to be about Megyn Kelly, and the sort of O'Reilly, Hannity glory days of Fox are probably behind them. With Roger Ailes out, I think it's going to go sort of center right. There's for strong, mischievous, dissident, free speech loving, bomb throwing libertarianism and conservatism. Really, Breitbart's the only stop now. So it's a very exciting place to work right now.
It's interesting because for those who just look at normal news outlets, and when I say normal, they're becoming not normal at all, like a CNN, where maybe 20 years ago when Ted Turner probably started it out, which would have been like a Breitbart feeling, and probably 35 years ago now, I don't even know. But right. I mean, the intention was to report real news and not to kind of become sellouts. And now It's like, there could be a tragedy that happens in the world, but they're talking about the Brangelina split as their front story and it's over. And that kind of makes me sick. And I think it must kind of help Breitbart too, that this shift is happening because all the other mainstream outlets really are just TMZs of the world. They're not actually reporting news. And with the internet, with this World Wide Web that people have suddenly discovered, I found out like just a couple of months ago, like people like to go on this World Wide Web thing, and but they're picking up what other people are laying down, and that's what you guys are doing to try and find again that middle common ground, because it is wild how much the news actually can manipulate and lie to us, isn't it?
Of course, and if the press were doing their job properly, there wouldn't be as much space for Breitbart as there is. But the press is doing a terrible, terrible, terrible job. They lie to and about people all day, every day. And now everybody knows it. Their power to influence is probably, never been lower and will probably never recover. Particularly from this election, Donald Trump has demonstrated through, he's at his rallies, and normally people are terrified of the media. They suck up to them. It's all this like horse trading for access and all the rest of it. Donald Trump has the media at his rallies, and he points to them and says, "Look at these slime bags. Look at these gutter journalists. These terrible people. They are bad people. They'll lie to you. Look, you guys." And he points to them and says, "Turn your cameras around. Show how many people are here. Why do you never show how many people are here?" The reason he's doing it is he's demonstrating the powerlessness of the media in to shape elections, to form narratives. He's demonstrating that the media could dictate what millions of Americans thought and believed. Is basically coming to an end because the press has screwed up so badly. They have failed to do their job properly. They no longer hold the powerful to account. The primary purpose of journalism, it seems to me, in America is virtue signaling now, advertising to each other that they're good people. It's a typical example is the alt-right, which is this new...
Come back, Milo. I want to talk.
In particularly young conservatives who are frustrated with globalism and globalization, who, all sorts of stuff going on there. But the only thing that journalists want to do is point at it and say, racist. Well, the majority of the alt-right is not racist, but, because their primary purpose now is saying racism is bad. Yeah, we know that. They haven't been able to give an accurate guide to the contours of this new movement, or to understand it, or to work out really what America wants and what America is about. Journalists just aren't doing their jobs properly anymore. And by and large, they're pretty dumb too. They're very stupid people, and they think they're a lot smarter than they are. And this has left the field wide open for Breitbart, which is scruffy and young and fiery and smart. We have like Alex Marlow, the editor-in-chief of Breitbart, is the smartest guy I've ever worked with. He's really, really brilliant. And it's the kind of talent and the kind of excitement and enthusiasm that just doesn't exist elsewhere in the media anymore.
Do you guys have like a cool video room or something for lunches at least? Like you just go play games and like yeah.
Well, we work sort of all over the country and all over the world. Actually, now we have offices in Jerusalem and London, all the rest of it. So we're all. I mean, I'm at the Trump golf course this weekend in Miami because I'm in the middle of my college tour, and Alex is in DC, and the other guys LA. LA is the head office. So we're all over the place, but we're just having such a good time. And I think you can see that in the copy. You can see that like in my college tour speeches. You can see it in what's good. You can just see people who are at the top of their game, like killing it. And the rest of the media just looks tired and angry and worn out because they are. And people can pick up on that. And it's really remarkable that in 5 or 10 years, maybe no more than that, in 5 or 10 years, the power of the media is almost completely collapsed in this country.
Milo Yiannopoulos joins us from Miami with better reception now. We're grateful for. You mentioned the alt-right movement, and I saw recently on a website, dailystormer.com, there's some dude named Andrew Anglin who declared a holy crusade against you, saying that you're the single greatest threat that their movement has ever had. It seemed like you said some decent words about this alt-right movement, but I feel like, from so some of the due diligence I did, that these guys can't stand you. Why is that?
Oh, they hate me. This is a lazy, pathetic sneer about anybody who is on the right, any conservative anywhere. The left at some point will try and tell you, to try and make out that you're a racist. And they do this because being a racist is one of those allegations that tends to stick, even if it's not true. There'll always be a question, there'll always be a worry. Was that, that person got accused of racism, so they must have done something. These accusations don't just come out of nowhere. Well, they do come out of nowhere. And one of the reasons that the press is losing power is that it keeps wildly accusing people of being crazy things that everyone knows they're not. And so Out Magazine, which is America's biggest and probably smartest gay magazine, did a big spread on me this month. It was a very nuanced profile piece about me. And the left went insane. How dare you give Milo Yiannopoulos a fair hearing, was what they were saying. Calling me a white supremacist, calling me an anti-Semite, all the rest of it. Well, let me tell you guys, the real white supremacists and anti-Semites absolutely hate me. And the Daily Stormer, which is kind of the hub for these guys, really some of the worst guys on the internet. Not as bad as the far left, but pretty bad. And these guys absolutely hate me. So it's been great for them to declare war on me. And by the way, 24 hours after they declared war on me, I had to call off an event at Florida Atlantic University because of a bomb threat that was deemed credible by the FBI. I don't know that the two were related. It could have been feminist, but I doubt it. Nobody. This is a really important thing.
Yeah.
Nobody can ever again claim that I am, that I'm a white supremacist or whatever. You can't do it plausibly. Those guys absolutely hate me. I'm in a very nice position at the moment where the crazies on both sides both hate me, and they're both screaming at each other about me.
Yeah, you're somewhere in the middle there, but this alt-right movement. Let's be honest, like they are completely anti-Semitic. That's one thing we can agree on, right? And this on Rosh Hashanah, on a New Year for the Jewish people. Like they're calling you the kike word I don't even like to say here on the program, but I just saw it. I'm quoting what they called you. These guys are assholes, are they not?
There is I think it's a very small portion of the alt-right which professes to be very sincere in its anti-Semitism and its white nationalism. And, to the extent that they are sincere, they're really bad guys and they're not nice people. But they're not a significant political force. They're not a significant cultural force. They're just a few wackos on the internet. And I find it far more worrying in general terms that there is an entire establishment consisting of academia, the media, politics. There is the massed ranks of the establishment, the great and the good, are dedicated to closing down free speech, to policing language. And what these guys do, the alt-right guys, in particular, those members of the alt-right that are not white supremacists, but just like winding people up with bad words, what they're doing, to provoke the language police and the nannies and the cultural scolds, I actually think is in the long term will be a net positive. I'm far more worried about threats to the First Amendment and threats to free speech and free expression than I am about a couple of thousand kooks, on one website on the internet.
Well, Milo, I have to give you credit there. What you're doing there is you're being accountable for some of the things you might say and wouldn't want to be censored. So why would we want to censor others? And it's only a few of them, so let's not take them too seriously and give them too much blame. Maybe I'm even doing that right now. And I actually respect that a great amount of dealing people, which is, hey, let me be me, let other people be me. We'll figure out the fucking clowns. It won't be a problem.
Exactly. And here's the thing, I don't believe that silencing people, is ever the right thing to do. You don't fight for free speech for the right to say, I like the Beatles, or I think Madonna's music sucks. You fight for free speech so that people on the edges, on the very fringes of culture, the people who are playing with dangerous ideas that might move us forward, might move us backwards, but but either way are important and interesting and significant. They're the people that you have to stick up for. Otherwise, free speech is meaningless. Free speech means nothing unless you stick up for the opinions of people you despise. And you've got to do it. You've got to let these white nationalists have their say, have a platform, and let them fail in the marketplace of ideas. When people see them and they hear them and they think this is just crazy, hateful garbage, they will fail. And as a result, because of the First Amendment, because there's free expression in America, there are no white nationalists in government. There are no white nationalists in the media. There are no white nationalists in academia. Why? Because these people go to the public with their ideas and they fail. That's how to beat them. Give them a platform. Give them a spotlight. Don't try to shut them up.
That it's tough to get sponsorship dollars unless it's from like a beef jerky company or something.
Of course. Well, no reason to speak ill of beef jerky.
Okay.
I don't know what a white nationalist's foodstuff of choice would be. I have no idea.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know why beef jerky came to mind, but it did.
No, I love beef jerky. You stop it.
Okay.
No, but I want the crazy feminists. I want Black Lives Matter. I want all of these people to have the biggest possible platforms because I know that bad ideas fail. Bad ideas when they're presented to the public are not persuasive, and hateful people very quickly expose themselves. They let themselves down when they're given a platform to spew their nonsense, right? So I don't want anyone shut down, no matter how disgusting they are. And in fact, the disgusting people I want to hear from the most.
One of the things that we often talk about whenever you join us on the program is this sort of political correctness, which everyone seems to be getting behind. Canada's become a big nation of political correctness. And slowly in the last couple of months, and really a lot of it spearheaded by some of the stuff you did, man, is people are starting more mainstream to say maybe it's a little bit too much. Maybe we're starting to really just agree and concur with things that we normally wouldn't do just out of the fear of other people not liking or wanting to work with us. Do you think that switch is sort of coming more mainstream now, where maybe in the you talk about sort of how certain media outlets will falter and others will shine. Do you think that eventually the public is going to start just sort of really starting to say what they feel again without having malicious intent behind it, but not protecting all the time?
Absolutely. The thing you're talking about is called preference falsification. So sociologists call it preference falsification. And it is what you do to cover up your real opinions when you think that your real opinions might get you into trouble. Or if you think everybody else, it's kind of like, feminism has a sort of con job where on the one hand, it behaves in disgusting, misandrist, man-hating ways. And on the other, defines itself as a movement that just wants equality for women, guys. But people see through this stuff. So even though everybody, you'll never get anybody in public life to say they're not a feminist, unless they're kind of making a point about it, right? Or they're trying to get attention or whatever. So it's a sort of preference falsification. Everybody will tell you that they're a feminist, but nobody really is. And when pollsters actually ask them, they find out that fewer than 1 in 5 women describe themselves as feminists. In Britain, it's just 7%, So people in public say they believe things they don't believe because it's for social pressure, and it's called preference falsification. The media has been doing this for decades. And people are starting to see through it. And one of the effects of Donald Trump is that people are realizing that when they express their real opinions, nothing bad happens. Nobody dies. If you say, I don't agree with Black Lives Matter, I think they are petulant children throwing their toys out of the pram, burning their own communities with nothing interesting or useful to say, and they have accomplished nothing. It's just an opinion. Nothing bad happens.
It's interesting you say that because I've always been very guarded and protected, and I still maybe am somewhat on an uncensored channel and stuff. But I'm careful. I pay a mortgage. I got a wife and a kid and everything, all that kind of stuff. I'm not as free and as open as Milo there. I wish maybe at times I could be, but I will tell you that we had that mayor Rob Ford before he sadly died of cancer, and love him or hate him when he's doing politics. One of the things that I learned from him is exactly what you're saying. Is that whatever he says, as disgusting as some of the comments are, he didn't actually, well, maybe he did, but he didn't actually go and put like a gun to someone's head. And he wasn't actually going and harming people. He was just being a babbling idiot. And it went away with this 24-hour news cycle, with the type of world we live in, with something always kind of coming that's going to be grab you more attention on the next tweet or the next Facebook post or the next terrorist act, whatever it might be. It goes away too. People take this shit too seriously. When do we start telling people not to take certain things that people say so seriously as well?
The thing is that when you police language, you make it dangerous. When you say that there are words that you can't say, you give those words power they wouldn't otherwise have, power that they wouldn't ordinarily possess. And when you liberate people to say exactly what they feel, to say how they believe, to express themselves, first of all, you discover that people have all kinds of interesting and crazy perspectives on things that you'd never considered, and your life becomes immediately richer and more entertaining, and more stimulating. And second of all, you discover that people, by and large, are not awful. People, by and large, are really nice, and everybody's just trying to muddle through and work out this crazy, sometimes miserable, sometimes happy world, and live a good life and provide for their families. And the vast majority of people are basically decent. Even if they believe some, crazy things or whatever, you find that people are good. And language policing, and and forcing people to express opinions they don't really hold in public, and making people scared to express themselves because of advertiser boycotts, all this kind of stuff. And every broadcaster like you lives in constant total fear of this. So I do get it. I do get why people are reluctant to express themselves.
I'd also always rather know. I grew up this way. I'd always rather know my enemy than get stabbed in the back from someone I thought was trying to be my best friend. So I mean, it
right.
is.
And, this happens with conservatives. The left has spent 30 years calling conservatives names, and they've stopped bothering to find out what we actually believe. They have no idea what we believe because all they do is see a conservative and go racist, sexist. So they have no idea what our arguments are. That's why I'm so successful and so effective in colleges, because I'm going in, I'm presenting those arguments, and I'm saying, what's your interpretation of these facts? Because what you have said doesn't match the data, and I've looked at the same evidence you have and reached a different conclusion. Persuade me, and they can't. And one of the reasons they can't is they haven't been listening for 30 years.
Before we get to your thoughts on the first debate, which happened about a week ago, I wanted you just to go and mention, because we do have listeners all across North America being on SiriusXM, your tour dates and where you might be. Ironically, I actually know where they are from thedailystormer.com. But
this is why I want the loonies to have a platform, because even when they're being awful about me, that post was probably the most read thing on his blog all year. It might be the most read post ever in the history of his blog, and nothing else will ever be read that much again. What do I take away from that? One, anti-Semites and white nationalists don't like me. Well, that's damaging. Two, he presented a complete list of tour dates, so now everybody knows where I'm going to speak, and they go get tickets.
He didn't even ask for a commission like a Ticketmaster would.
No, I should cut him a check. I mean, I won't, of course, but
yeah.
I mean, I feel like sending the guy some money. I mean, he must have a pretty miserable existence being a sort of angry white nationalist on the internet for a living. I would send him a check. He's probably sold 5,000 tickets.
You know what you should do? Send him an Israeli bond. I think he'll like that.
Ooh, very good, very good. I might do that.
So where are a couple tour dates coming up soon?
Right, so I am currently luxuriating in the beautiful surroundings of the Trump Doral golf course, but I'm going to go back on tour very soon. And when I go back, first of all, we have, I think this Friday I'm going to be in Auburn in Alabama, and then we're going to be in Tuscaloosa after that, Nashville, then I'm going to do some North Carolina, Georgia, so all around that bit of the country. My birthday on October the 18th, I will be in Clemson, South Carolina. My birthday, of course, last year I christened World Patriarchy Day, so we'll be celebrating World Patriarchy Day Clemson in South Carolina on October the 18th. And then one of the highlights of the tour coming up is going to be at Yale on the 22nd, when I will be in full Native American costume to talk about cultural appropriation.
A couple of these things have, as you said, have been shut down and stuff. Milo, are you fearful? Are you just as confident as you've always been? And while you're doing it with some sort of shock value, you feel like it's warranted with the messages you're trying to get across?
I don't worry for myself. I mean, I've been, everybody in public life gets death threats, and only really the political left turn them into currency, But everybody in public life gets death threats. I get dozens a week, and they really don't bother me. The only thing I'm worried about is student safety. So when the FBI said that the bomb threat against my event in Florida this week was credible, then of course I had to cancel it, because if there's any risk to any of the students or any of the audience, any of the organizers, any of the university staff, then of course it can't proceed. But I'm not really worried for myself. I mean, the people I go after are idiots, the people I go after are morons, they can barely tie their own shoelaces together. I'm not worried about them wiring a detonator. But I do, obviously. Well, now I'm acquiring some haters from the fringes of the white nationalist, anti-Semitic far right. Maybe we'll get some shooters or something. It'll be exciting. But I don't worry too much, because if they get me, they get me. I mean, what am I going to do? And then it doesn't matter how many security guards you have. You got to just do your thing,
Why am I picturing Michael Rappaport in that movie? What was that movie like? Oh God, do you remember that movie years ago? Michael Rappaport, skinhead, shot some guy. Anyway. I can't remember the name of the movie. I'm picturing. I don't want that to be. I don't want that to be a demise at all of Milo Yiannopoulos. Now,
I don't want to go. I want to get taken out, but I don't want to get taken out for at least 10 years, because I've got a lot more fame to acquire between now and then.
You got a lot more fucking to do, is what you got to do. I know you got a lot more fucking to do, Milo.
I do. No, I think I. There are so many beautiful chocolate men out there. I can't possibly give up now. No, if I go, I've decided I want to go in about 10 years when I'm still hot, I'm at the height of my powers. You know, I'm like I'm the wealthiest and the most famous and the most successful I'll ever be. And then I'll go tragically at the age of like 41 or something. And people will talk about it forever. It'll be fantastic.
I'm 43. I've already outlived you. And by the way, it was Higher Learning. It was Higher Learning was the movie I was referring to. Okay, Milo, the debate. So people are saying since that debate, it's been the worst week in any presidential race history for one of the potential presidents of the United States of America, that being Donald Trump. Do you and the polls are all fucked up because you'll see polls on CNN that will say something like 67% think Hillary Clinton win, and then you'll go on other polls that will say no, okay, there's anonymity here. There's people who have just voted online, and actually people are saying Trump won that debate. What are Milo Yiannopoulos' thoughts on it? And I know it's a bit dated, but what did you think?
No, that's all right. I have a feeling that Trump succeeded in doing what he wanted to do with that debate, which was not blow himself up, come across as relatively reasonable. And let's remember, most of the people were watching the first half, and the first half he killed it. The first half he was very convincingly beat her. Second half, I think she baited him, and I think he came across as a bit too defensive. He didn't attack back as everyone was expecting him to. I think he's saving that for the later debates, and I think there's going to be some real fireworks in the later debates. So it doesn't bother me too much as a lover of his, which I am. It doesn't bother me too much. But she definitely performed better in the second half. There's no doubt about it. Really, America has a choice to make, and the choice America has to make is do you want 4-5 years, whatever, of this woman who is going to perpetuate all of the worst things in society, victimhood and grievance culture, clamping down on free speech, pandering to terrible people. And as a gay guy, her pandering to Islam is particularly worrisome to me. Or do you want to blow the system up? And this election really is about people who want to blow the system up versus people who are happy with the status quo. If you're happy with the status quo, if you think everything in politics is fine and there's no reason to worry, then fine, vote for Hillary. But if you want to just take a risk, just blow things up and just like, what's the worst that could happen? Let's find out. I think you should take a risk on a Sanders or a Trump candidate. And now the only option really is to go with Trump.
Well, see, I've gone on record saying I wouldn't vote for either. I would spoil my vote in America. That's what I would do, Milo. I don't think Trump is presidential.
Very distressing. Oh, well, come on.
No, listen.
Are you kidding me? He loves America in a way that clearly Obama and Hillary do not.
Listen, Milo, sorry to interrupt. I will say, there's a couple things I like about Trump, and I've talked about this openly. And I'm going to give you an example that sounds absolutely ludicrous to most people because it makes people think that I'm a moron. But I can tell you that it speaks to some sort of substance in an individual. And that was when I liked him in The Celebrity Apprentice. And the reason why I liked him in The Celebrity Apprentice and why I like that show is because I'm a long-haired Jewish dude who's 43 years old who's never been taken seriously in the corporate world because of my look. And I know that for sure. I wear baggy pants, I wear pointy shoes or flip-flops. It's never been about my performance. It's been about I'm judged about a look. So the perception of me is douchebag. I understand that. I've gotten it my whole life. Thankfully, my wife didn't mind and looks past it from time to time. And usually when I'm naked and I shave. But so, one of the things I do, he brought a bunch of people in that boardroom. And granted, while it was entertainment, you had your Dennis Rodmans, you had your Brett Michaels, you had whoever, just a bunch of different looks and characters. And he never judged anyone at that point for what they were. He judged them for performance. So as a businessman, I respect that. Now when I hear he doesn't pay taxes, part of me goes, well, you can't blame the guy if he's figured out the system through high profile and expensive.
No, but hang on. With this tax thing, but come on.
No. Let me finish. I was just because I was going to say you can't actually blame the guy if he's figured out and beat the system. I'm actually envious of these businessmen who beat the system because they figured it out in a way how to do it legally, and it's stuff that wasn't taught to me in school because maybe the Rockefellers wrote it, 100 years ago that only 1% should learn how to figure out the system, the finance system, and the rest of us shouldn't. I don't know fucking how that works out. I feel naive to it, and I want to be able to earn extra money as much as I can so my kid has a head start in life so he can actually get that education to be part of that group to take care of himself and his family. And that's the other thing I was going to say. I respect the way he is with his family, and love him or hate the guy. This is all I'm going to say. And again, I wouldn't vote for him. Okay, I'm putting that out there, but I respect the way he is with his family. I know it's fine. I respect the way he is with his family because I see a lot. I'm a very happily married guy. I love my child. I love my wife. wife. I'm very faithful. And, I just think that is an important part in this world that often people forget while it's falling apart. So, there is some good to Trump. And he also takes a lot of abuse. Like he takes more abuse than any human being on the planet other than Milo Yiannopoulos.
And does he whine about it? No, because he recognizes that it's just, the cost of doing business as a public figure. That's just what we get, And you can either be like a baby about it, and you can use, these supposed threats and nastiness as, as evidence that you're some kind of victim, and try to get prop up your profile and get attention and affirmation and money for being a victim, or you can just get on with what you're good at.
You laughed. You laughed, by the way, when I said he wasn't presidential. Why do you think he is?
Oh, that's ridiculous. I mean, look, presidentiality is very much in the eye of the beholder. Clearly, enough Americans believe that he is presidential. Most of the Republican base apparently thinks he is presidential. And, what is a president? He's strong, yes. Loves his country, yes. Clearly isn't going to, take any rubbish from anybody. Yes, I mean, fine. He can be a little goofy, clownish, even camp. There's something of the drag queen about him for sure. But does he tick the boxes for what a president should be? Yeah, he kind of does actually. He does. Clearly more Americans agree with me than they do with you.
Do you think, though, he is a bit bullyish? And don't get me wrong, I don't agree with any of the smear campaign stuff that Clinton's doing either. I think smear campaigns in politics should be... You don't care? Okay.
I'm so tired of this kind of abuse, bullying kind of garbage. It's just been a way for the left to shut down debate for so long. Maybe we need a bit of a bully. You don't have to personally like the guy to accept that he won't be a disaster as president. You don't have to personally like the guy to accept that the overall effect of Donald Trump might be a good thing. This idea that we have to personally like people, this cult of niceness, social justice warriors prey on this stuff. Everybody's gonna be nice to each other. Everybody's gonna lie to each other about their real feelings. No, maybe we should have a bit more meanness in politics. Maybe we should have somebody who's kind of an ass.
Do you think, you hear stories and reports from psychologists and stuff going, he's just too emotionally unstable to actually run a president, meaning he acts on his emotions without putting thought into it, and they're worried at what kind of decisions and secrets he might have. Does that fear you at all?
Hillary Clinton can barely stand. Do you think I'm worried about Trump having a short temper? No. I mean, it's ridiculous. No, I mean, look, he has a short fuse and he's a bit thin-skinned. Well, so are plenty of people. What it does do is let everybody know that he's not going to take crap from anyone, and I quite like that.
Milo, what is something about Hillary that maybe you would know, or Breitbart reports on that say just the average public who opens up their CNNs or their USA Todays wouldn't know?
Oh, well, I think anything we know like that we've probably published. I mean, the thing that you forget, because I think a lot of younger voters don't know because they don't remember the first Clinton presidency, is how grubby it was. It was characterized by sort of money-grubbing, low-level, bad behavior. And people don't remember or don't know just how bad, it was. People getting to sleep in the Lincoln bedroom in the White House if they donated to the Democrat Party. You want the great organs and institutions of America basically being sold, for peanuts. And it was that sort of petty grubbiness that characterized the Clintons, to say nothing of his sexual proclivities, to say nothing of, her behavior to those women after he, cheated with them. I don't care to police other people's relationships. I don't think anybody really these days cares too much that Bill Clinton had a lot of affairs. Some people like to pretend to get upset and offended by it and say that it's bad behavior. I don't care too much about that. But I do care about the fact that Hillary Clinton tried to destroy those women afterwards, calling it bimbo eruptions, calling them liars, defaming them, trying to destroy their lives. I mean, Monica Lewinsky's turned into a bit of a whiny social justice warrior these days, but she was treated abominably by everybody, and she was treated most abominably by Hillary. And the idea that Hillary is some kind of feminist icon is so insane to me. I mean, the idea that she is somehow a good person for women to vote for when she has dedicated large portions of her professional life to destroying women that her husband raped and cheated with. This is not a good candidate for women. And I wish more women realized that. And if they thought about it logically and coolly and seriously, I think they would agree.
Milo, I've heard some say that some will, in this sort of crazy race, and it is crazy, and if you watched SNL this weekend, that didn't even feel like a skit. That just felt like you're watching the second debate.
SNL's become sort of redundant, hasn't it? It's like they could literally just turn the TV on like a Trump rally or watch Hillary Clinton falling into a bus or something. I mean, why do we need SNL now?
Yeah, isn't that kind of, exactly. You just replay the debate. People are like, SNL was amazing this weekend. But some are saying, because of Trump, that people might just go and vote for Hillary, because she's a woman, and let's be honest, that is a great opportunity to think that there would be a first ever female president. I'm not saying it should be because it's Trump. I'm just saying it's great that we're in this position. And then secondly, what people don't talk about, though, and some are saying is a bit of a disgrace, is the fact that then people would only vote because she's a woman and only vote because she has the name Clinton, which is sort of a nepotism type of thing. Is that what are your thoughts on that?
I just feel in general about this election that it is so pantomimic and so...
What does that mean?
Well, the whole thing is is so clownish.
Okay,
it's like a
thank you.
pantomime.
Okay.
They don't have good schools in Canada, I know.
No, I was just too drunk during them. Okay.
No, I understand. Almost as bad as your healthcare.
Okay.
It's true.
At least we have it, dude. Okay.
What a terrible place to live. No, I mean, no. You have no culture to. I mean, what has Canada contributed to world culture? Like Shania Twain, Alanis Morissette, Rufus Wainwright. I mean, these are the great thinkers, singers. These are the creatives that Canada has gifted to the world. You people need a bit more conflict and drama.
Hey, dude, I bet you like Deadpool. I bet you're a Deadpool fan.
Yeah, I do kind of like.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds is Canadian. Okay.
No. Okay, Ryan Reynolds is your only good export. Ryan Reynolds is the only thing Canada's ever produced that I would be happy to have on a tourist poster. No, but you people, this is the home of fake niceness. Canada is a home of fake niceness. We're always apologizing for each other.
I'll give you that.
All this kind of stuff. Yep. And what is the result? No conflict, no drama, and no art. You produce nothing of any value to the rest of the world at all. Nothing.
Okay, don't get me defensive here, because there's a lot of great Canadians.
Because you have no conflict, you have no drama, no passion. It's just this country of dull, boring people like misgendering each other and apologizing for it.
That's why no one wants to hang out with me at a dinner table, because I'm always the one who creates the drama, where I think it's just a regular fucking conversation. But anyway.
And you're like the most normal person I talk to in Canada. Apparently, you're outrageous. Okay. No, I mean, it's so depressing to me. But but America is wonderful, and this election is such a car crash in so many brilliant and beautiful, wonderful ways. And neither of those candidates is perfect. Let's be completely honest. But I mean, I think Trump's perfect, but I realize that other people don't. I really want for Americans to just take the risk on chaos. I take the risk on drama and chaos, and just tear it up. Like, tear it up. The power of the president is really limited. Like, structurally, it's designed that way. There's only so much he can do. He'll probably get to build the wall, probably get to fix trade a little bit. The effect it'll have on political correctness will be terrific. And then he probably won't be able to get anything else done because of Congress,
Or they'd start a wall, and by, then the 4 years is over. He won't get reelected, so there'll be like a couple of bricks over the wall.
Trump comes in ahead of time and under budget every time. Every time. Look at the D.C. hotel. His hotel in D.C. finished way ahead of schedule and way under budget. Trump knows what he's doing.
I know.
It's always the case. So, that wall is going to be that wall. I mean, I'm surprised he's not already building it. That wall is going to be beautiful. It's going to be a great wall. It's going to have a lovely door in it for legal immigration. And it's going to be beautiful. I just want it to, I want it to have gold tees. I want it to be the gaudiest, tackiest. I want it to be
I just picture every of my friends' Jewish boobies, like their living room, like that style.
No, but even worse than that, I want it to be like Pakistani. Have you ever been to like a Pakistani living room and they've got these all like
my producer's Pakistani, so Bilal, jump in here.
They have such blingy taste.
Is it a little too tacky?
Cracked glass, like work counters and like fake chandeliers, all that kind of crap.
Bilal?
Pakistanis have the worst taste of anybody I've.
Is that?
He's actually right. There's way too much color. There's way too many dance numbers in our Bollywood movies. There's way too many chandeliers. So you got us, Beal. You got us.
No, I'm not just being mean. It's totally true. If you've got Pakistani friends, particularly if their parents are sort of like a little bit aspirational, their parents are kind of like middle class, like came over with nothing and then made a little bit of money. The way they decorate their houses is so repulsive. No, honestly,
Hey, Gold's making a comeback because of Drake, another great Canadian. He's got Gold. Gold's making a comeback.
No, Drake is like, Drake is so whiny. Drake is like this is whingy, he's like the social justice warrior of rap. All he ever talks about is bloody feelings.
He has lots of feelings.
Oh my, yeah. No, give me Lil Wayne over Drake any day of the week. Drake is so whiny.
Lil Wayne, I discovered Drake, so you can blame him for that. Now, Milo, I don't know why I wanted your thoughts on this, but I was trying to think of quirky questions I could ask you instead of the regular stuff. I always wanted to know Milo Yiannopoulos' thoughts on people who wait in line for iPhones.
Oh my goodness! I think they should be exterminated. I think they should be taken out and shot. The idea that you would wait for a phone rather than sending your assistant or something. No, I mean, oh my goodness, the cult of Apple is so funny to me. And the reason I love Apple is because they take their own customers for fools like every day. This is a company that sells ridiculously overpriced stuff to tree huggers, social justice warriors, students, lefty activists, and all the rest of it. And it is the most rapaciously capitalistic corporation in America's history. This is a company that never did anything green until it was shamed into it. Never gave anything to charity under Steve Jobs. No charitable shit at Apple. The most ruthlessly efficient, production cycles. All this kind of like Chinese sweatshops, all this kind of stuff. There's literally nothing about Apple that should please lefties, but lefties spend so much money on their products. It makes me so happy. It is the perfect example, the perfect company, like humiliating and taking advantage of idiot social justice.
I see. I know what you're saying, like the extremes. It's amazing. You talk about what people support and what people say they want to support, and the feel good nature, and then we all know the truths of certain corporations. Listen, I know where you're going.
Apple's a perfect example of why capitalism wins. That company has nothing to do with the values that that its customers supposedly espouse.
Well, everyone gets mad at Trump for not paying taxes. Look what they did, right? And over in Ireland.
Of course. But this is the most ruthlessly efficient capitalist company in history, maybe. And it wins anyway. Why? Because they make the best stuff.
Hey, by the way, I'm so happy our FaceTime audio is working with one another, though. Let's be honest, okay?
It's very good. Very good.
We are using Apple products.
Thank you, Cupertino. No, but why do they win? Because they make the best stuff.
Yeah.
Their laptops are the best. Their computers are the best. Their phones are the best. The iPads are the best. They make the best stuff. So it doesn't matter what your crazy crackpot values are, and it didn't matter that Apple never gave to charity and was horribly environmentally unfriendly and all the rest of it. They do it. They do it now, but to basically shut people up. But nobody mattered because they made the best stuff, and it's capitalism. It always wins.
You ever, when you're doing all these stage tours across the college campuses, do you have any embarrassing moments on stage that stand out? Like, oh my God, even me, Mr. Perfect Milo Yiannopoulos, this has occurred to?
No.
I know I'm perfect too. I'm racking my own brain on that kind of thing, and I'm like,
I honestly can't say I ever have, but I'll let you know if it does. If it does happen, something awful, if I wee myself or something, I will come back on the show and tell you all about it.
Oh, listen, I do want you back on the show, and before you go, you've given us almost an hour of your time. I'm always very appreciative of you doing that for us.
It's one of my favorites, and I follow you very religiously online. I love all of your stuff.
I appreciate it, man. Now, real quick, Halloween is around the corner. Do we know if there's any Milo Yiannopoulos costumes out there? Are people going to try? Flattery is the biggest. Imitation is the biggest form of flattery. Are people going to imitate you for that night?
Why would they imitate me? Halloween, you're supposed to dress up as something scary like Michelle Obama or Ruth Bader Ginsburg or something. Why would you?
Anthony Weiner.
Why would you dress as Huma Abedin? Or the dear Sainted Hillary herself. Why? They're scary Halloween outfits. Why would anyone want to dress as me for Halloween?
What is Milo dressing up as?
Oh, I will dress as I always dress, Michelle Obama. No, but Michelle Obama. If she were yelling at me, I think I'd wee myself. I mean, she's terrifying.
Milo Yiannopoulos once again, without any controversy. That's why we always have him back. That's what I love about it. It's never.
This is a conversation I'd be happy having at any dinner table.
And you know what? The dinner tables are where most of real conversations go down because they're usually around comfort of people that doesn't have a cell phone on you and maybe recording something. And then again, there's probably a lot of those dinners too. But everyone's exploiting everyone these fucking days. There's people dressed up as police and going and rob Kim Kardashian for $10 million worth of jewelry. And while that is heinous, and I don't think it's a PR stunt, who the fuck carries $10 million worth of jewelry? But Milo Yiannopoulos...
Hey, you leave Kim Kardashian alone.
No, I'm just...
That was on CNN.
You leave
today.
her alone.
There
If
you
I
go.
had that, if I had jewelry worth that, I'd wear it every fucking day.
Yeah, that's a good fucking point. I wear the one thing I can afford. Now, the last thing I will say, and I think it ties it all back, is that the election people is probably closer than a lot of people think, only because of that anonymity, that dinner table situation. That's what a voting poll station is, man. It's just someone in there, and there's both sides. Go and make yourself informed decisions. I would spoil my vote, but go and check out Breitbart.com, or go and check out, if you want, CNN.com, where today's headline story is Kim Kardashian. So,
Poor Kim. I'll be praying for her. I'll I'll also be praying for her to break up with Kanye so that I can marry him. But I will be praying for her.
I love that you love Kanye. I love that. That's where
Of
we're...
course I do. No, Red Alert Media called me the Kanye West of journalism. It was the most flattering and accurate thing anyone's ever said about me. Of course I love him. Are you kidding?
Well, then go as Kanye for Halloween.
No, because he's not scary. He's adorable. He's
Okay.
lovely.
Milo...
No. Oh, do you know? No, you know what? I've actually got a different idea.
Okay.
It just reminded me. For Halloween, I think I'm going to go as Lena Dunham. I just need lots and lots of padding and to not wash for 6 weeks. I can't imagine anything more horrifying than being trapped in a room at a party with Lena Dunham. So I'm going to go as Lena for Halloween. That's it. We nailed it.
Milo, I look forward to seeing it on whatever social media allows you to post it on. Okay, buddy?
Thanks so much.
Cheers, man. I do appreciate all your time. Enjoy Miami. Happy birthday in a few weeks on the 18th there. And good luck at Yale as well. That's a big one, man.
Thanks so much. Take care, buddy.
Okay,
Bye.
cheers. Milo Yiannopoulos.
The Todd Shapiro Show. Turn up your speakers, especially if you're over 65. SiriusXM 168. Canada Laughs.